Hello, friends. Welcome to Much Review About Nothing. Hellboy can never be Hellman because then he gets sued by mayonnaise. On this podcast, we review a movie we haven't seen through cultural osmosis and what we can find on the internet. I'm your host, Hell Billy.
And we're your co-hosts, Hell Jake and... Luke Greer.
Let's don't watch a movie.
Edit that part to where it comes in a little sooner.
I don't think I will. I think I'll say big
Long
silence.
silence with the drum roll, and he didn't even continue with the joke.
Yeah, I think he was too focused on his little drum roll there.
All right, well, I could never compete with the mayonnaise pun.
It wasn't a pun. It was a stupid
was
joke.
that?
Hellman's mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's a mayonnaise
It's a brand of
brand.
mayonnaise.
Oh, okay.
It was like one of the first jokes I thought of, and I was like, well, that's dumb enough to go with. All right,
Let's have
so
two introductions. I don't think we explained what the podcast is about. Did we didn't go through our cultural...
I thought I did. On this podcast, we review a movie we haven't... Yeah, I did that.
Oh, did you?
After the joke.
Man,
I think you were so stunned by
was.
the mayonnaise joke.
Okay,
I'm
so
used to stupidness.
going into inspection, I guess the main thing is that I've been a little bit more active on Twitter.
Yes.
And even Discord, which I will have an official account made up for Much Review About Nothing. I've just been using my personal one. And we do have to give a bit of a shout out to a podcast about something. It's like the antithesis to Much Review About Nothing, where they do talk about something in great detail, whereas we skim over the top, and all that. But they've been, they said they listened to it and that they really liked it, so we kind of have to give a shout out to them, and I've listened to them back some, so...
They say opposites attract.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I laughed when I saw it. It's like...
Great mind thinks alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the perfect thing.
Or we're all uncreative.
Let's get into the trailer, really, of Hellboy, as my voice cracks.
No.
Well,
We're a clean podcast, say Heck Boy.
Heck Boy. I thought about doing the
We're
line
calling him
like
Heck
that, but I
Boy
know I
now.
forget.
Heck boy.
But yeah, we'll get into it, but we didn't even say that we're not watching Hellboy 2019 today.
Right.
And a lot of other people are not watching Hellboy too. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unfortunately or not unfortunately, depending on how you look at it.
And you wanted to kind of bring out that this is a reboot of, the Del and the Tarata.
Yeah, the Del Torata movie.
Wow. What is that? Some sort of like a ancient wizard made in the middle? I am the Del Torata.
Del Toro.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro.
Del Toro. Of two movies?
Yeah,
I could have
two.
swore it was three. But...
No, they wanted three. It was, long in the works. There was lots of rumors and buzz. Like, one day we're going to get it. And this happened instead. And this one is allegedly closer to the comics. I don't know if it is. I just know that it is a adaptation, supposedly, of a couple of Hellboy comics.
Right.
Which is a good element, but I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, you have major problems with it.
Yes.
Billy is a massive Hellboy fan. Please pity him.
No, because Hellboy is a very, artistic and esoteric and kind of, it's more literary. You think of comics as being more lowbrow. Hellboy isn't. It's a graphic novel. It's not a comic book.
It's high
It's
five.
that kind of deal. High five.
I said it's high fart.
I wish there was a better word than... I keep saying highbrow, and I can't think of a better...
Pretentious?
Not pretentious, because that has a bad connotation.
That's why I used it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's,
Yeah.
A little higher class. I can't find a word without high in it.
It's the
but
little
you know what I mean.
lies
It's
you
not
tell
for
yourself.
the plebeian.
Yeah. Okay, well, now you know what we're not watching. We can get into the trailer.
Can we go back to the shot of the grandma? I want to see that.
Yes. All right, we finished the trailer. And We think we found our favorite character.
We found Nana with a machine gun.
That is a woman, correct?
Is
I don't
that a
know.
woman?
It's Asian grandma with a machine gun. There's like 2 seconds of her. We don't know the context behind her, but
So pro.
Machine Gun Granny.
Maybe they should have made a movie about her, Machine Gun Granny.
See, that's what I'm talking about. We need more movies about the elderly,
Yeah.
you know? Especially elderly fighting monsters. That's
Yeah.
perfect. It's right up their alley.
Okay, but
Because they
on to
struggle
the
with...
more serious discussion. We're now into dynamic discussions.
We announced it this time.
Yeah, I remembered actually too.
Please clap.
I didn't really feel good about this adaptation ever since I saw the first trailer. This trailer, I think. And there was another one where they had like this rock song playing in the background, this lighthearted rock song. I don't know, the tone was wrong from the start. Everything is wrong. And like I was saying before we started recording, this is probably going to turn into like an episode of Billy Rants.
This should be the second episode of Billy Rants.
Yeah.
You know, we can make a
The
long series.
The first time was that shameful display in that Star Wars one.
Yeah. I'm still embarrassed about that. No.
I guess I've never read the Hellboy comics.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen the other original Hellboys.
Yeah.
You know,
With Ron Perlman.
Yeah, and Della Tortora.
Della Torre. I can't remember what you said.
I don't know. But this Hellboy, and I think he's going to be the most harshly judged because of like Ron Perlman's betrayal, which I don't think was
Perlman's betrayal.
Yeah,
or portrayal?
portrayal.
His betrayal.
He betrayed us by not coming back.
His betrayal that turned him into a demon, you know, inside Hellboy.
So Ron Perlman actually was a demon?
Yes, they had to. What they did was he had to betray someone, and then they killed him, and then he came back, you know, from hell.
Yeah, it beats like 6 hours of probably more like 20 hours of makeup every day.
Yeah, and that goes into my point. Something is wrong with this Hellboy. He looks stoned. Something is wrong with his makeup or effects.
Yeah.
Like he looks clueless all the time. He's like,
It looks like they took a needle of morphine to stab it to the actor before filming.
He's special, air quotes, Hellboy, okay? Let's not push that too far. We don't want to be insensitive here. I mean, I was having trouble like thinking of how to get started on this, but I guess may as well start with Hellboy himself.
yeah.
His hair is not up in his top knot. That is the first big issue. His hair's down in like tattered kind of locks.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's a druggie, basically.
Yeah, he looks like a 70s washed up rocker.
But that, to me, shows a fundamental misunderstanding of Hellboy because Hellboy wants to be human. That's one of his issues is he doesn't feel like he fits in. So by not having this top knot and having him be kind of clean cut, it goes against his entire ethos.
He's like a big red Pinocchio.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. But that was the first sign that the creators didn't really understand the character. And I know in Facts and Follies is going to be kind of interesting this time around because it talks a lot about like what's going on behind the scenes and the creators' like mentality, and they seem to have good intentions, but it's just not showing up on the screen. I don't know if the studio interfered, but
I think the studio didn't interfere. I think this is an instance where they gave the director too much free reign.
Well, I think they did in some ways, and it's because to me this feels like a Deadpool, kind of a Deadpoolifying of Hellboy.
Yeah.
Where
it's the return of the snark.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be snarky.
Yeah, because his personality, like Hellboy, is real. He's wryly comedic sometimes, but there's little to no comedy in the comics themselves.
He's very disciplined, you would say.
Yeah,
he's very stoic, as you would put it.
He's stoic. I mean, he has a little bit sense of humor. I'm not saying he's completely mirthless.
No, he has that dry sense of humor.
Yeah, he's a big tough guy. He's got a heart of gold, and he's got a wry sense of humor. And this just seems like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like Hellboy.
I get the tone is a lot more gory or high.
It's like over the top. That's another thing. I'm kind of going through this slowly, but
we're gonna be here forever, folks. Strap in.
I mean, before we get to that aspect, I'm getting into that next. But I just thought of something like when he yells, at the evil queen Nimue, and she is in the comics. She's the Blood Queen, and she's important.
Right.
When he yells at her, like, he makes that joke where it's not going to work out between us. I'm a demon and you're effing nuts. That's not really,
Capricorn.
It
was
an I'm sorry.
It was an astrology
That's
joke.
right. Yeah, it wouldn't work out. I'm sorry, I messed up. It wouldn't work out because I'm a Capricorn and you're, blanking nuts. It doesn't feel like a Hellboy line, at least, especially the swearing, because Hellboy, aside from a little violence here and there, pretty clean. I mean, a young kid could read Hellboy and it would honestly be fine.
Yeah, I mean, they make it more adult by having language, and that's it. That language in of itself makes it more adult. That seems to be the thing. Or language in of itself is funny, or they use language to carry the writing where they can't come up with anything.
Yeah, it feels desperate. It feels like, isn't it cool how our characters are swearing? Does that make it awesome and adult? And it just smacks of desperation. And Hellboy might like crack a little joke, but it wouldn't be like him screaming that. It'd be like, "Hey, sister, I mean, I don't think it's going to work out between." It'd be something like that. I feel, and I'm no Ron Perlman.
Hey, it's not going to work out between us.
Sister,
hey,
Italian
what you doing? I like this Hellboy better.
Italian Hellboy.
Yeah,
but
I come in the demons everywhere. Hey!
But now going on the tone, because I've already established he doesn't feel like Hellboy. I like the fact that they have drawn inspiration from the comics. They've drawn inspiration from the Blood Queen, and I think it's like the Wild Hunt, where there's.
Whenever you say Blood Queen, I keep thinking of like a D&D module or something.
Well, I mean that's the thing. Everyone seems to think, and I really like the Del Toro movies. They have a charm to them, but even those aren't technically a great adaptation. I mean, they're a solid adaptation, but they capture the spirit of the comics. And everyone seems to think Hellboy is schlocky action, and it's not. It's basically schlock and pulp treated with utmost respect. Because honestly, there's not always a ton of action in the comic. Most of the time, you're just following Hellboy as he kind of walks around dark corridors and castles and old towns or forests.
In a way, it's more of an investigation story than it would be an action one.
Yeah, investigation or just kind of, it's real like an atmospheric journey.
Well, I read a couple of Hellboys before, I noticed that they run the gambit from like an investigation to like maybe like something like a Dante's Inferno kind of personal journey through like a weird
that's a good way to
scenario.
Put it.
If you're a massive nerd, it's like the difference between D&D, Warhammer, and Call of Cthulhu, basically. They kind of...
I'll take your word for it. I'm not that nerdy. My nerdiness is for comics, like Hellboy.
Yeah, but like Warhammer's a bit grittier than D&D, and then Call of Cthulhu is like really more investigation rather than combat and things like that. So to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's not action. A lot of times there's this crescendo, but it's not like hyper violent. It's real artistic and beautifully rendered with like heavy shadows.
Just blasts his head off and floors out into beautiful patterns on the
wall. Not even like that. It's not violent.
I just play with you.
And this adaptation is for some reason like gratuitously comedically hyper violent.
Yeah, hyper violent.
Which I'm not against inherently.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of ultra violence.
But it just goes to show they don't understand, or the studio forced them to do this because we want to be like Deadpool and capture that Deadpool crowd.
Do you think they would have done better, at least to you, if they disregarded Del Toro's previous work and just kind of started fresh? Because it feels like they kind of looked at Del Toro's work and said, let's make it more hyper kind of camp, or hyper violence, hyper camp. And let's harp on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they'll throw in some adaptations from the comics, but, they thought they could improve on or go a little bit different direction where maybe they should have started their own path. I mean... Yeah,
I personally feel that, to your point, I feel like it's just...
At that point, it's the production people, or producers, sorry, not production people, the producers who would not allow them to do that properly because you want to get the name.
Connect to that old fan base. Yeah, and I just feel like, I hate to quit bringing up Deadpool, but that was honestly a game changer. It was like, people want violent comedies that are,
or like a superhero
combined
costume.
with superhero elements, because Hellboy is superhero-ish. And, I was talking about how it's not even pulp anymore. It's, like I said, it's pulp elevated to the level of literary status. But basically, Hellboy is Mike Mignola, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, the comic creator, kind of exploring his love for monsters and the supernatural. And I just feel like it's always wrong from the start, because they start from the angle of like, oh, it's gonna be ironic and over the top and super violent, when the comics don't even. That's nothing like the comics.
Right. I think kind of talked about it. We need some pros and some cons. So I think cons, that we think the tone is wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong toner.
I mean, I would just say they disregard. It's not even like they disregarded. Well,
I think they misunderstand it.
Yeah, they misunderstand Hellboy, and I think
he's just a poor misunderstood creature.
I think Del Toro got closer to the idea, but no one has really captured it for me. To me, most of the movie should be barely any characters, just Hellboy going through a castle, meeting some ghosts, and then maybe he fights some people.
How's he supposed to get a snark on? There's barely anyone there.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with the adaptations, or not even the adaptations.
No one went to watch them. I'm sorry, Billy.
I know, that's the thing. It's a movie for me.
Yeah, you want a movie for you personally. But it's like, Godzilla, but we only want the monsters. Or Transformers, we only want the Transformers. Or Sonic, we only want the Sonic characters.
They won't give us what we want.
And so on.
Yeah.
Forth.
I mean, maybe it wouldn't do well, but this didn't do well, so clearly maybe freshening up the formula is called for.
Yeah, it'd be risky for the producers, basically, and they don't like risk.
I think George Lucas was right. Back when you make a movie,
George Lucas.
Well, yeah. When you make a movie, you're basically giving like some guy like $1 million, telling him to go play poker, and tell him to win like 5 times in a row. That's what making a movie is, and they don't want to do that. It's like, well, we calculate out, and you got to play with this hand, and.
George Lucas only succeeded 3 times, and then he lost the other 3.
Yeah.
He got closer than anyone.
And I just think, most of Hollywood, you could argue that the people running Marvel aren't this way, but I feel like most of Hollywood, not a disdain, but they don't care about comics.
Yeah.
They don't respect them. And this is kind of indicative of that, or it's just this kind of
I think
super ironic cheese.
No respect for comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, no respect.
We get no respect,
Because to me, not even Deadpool was pretty good. I'll admit that. But to me, they missed a lot of what makes Deadpool Deadpool. To me, that just felt like kind of an R-rated comedy that happens to have a superhero in it. It didn't feel like I was watching a Deadpool comic come alive on the screen. But they focus too much on crassness when it should be zany. Deadpool should be zany, and Hellboy should be kind of sad and haunting.
Yeah, he should be a sad boy, depressed.
Not him sad, but just the tone, because it's like ghosts and
Hollywood used to be zany. You go back to the 70s and 80s, it was zaniness abound, and you had a whole bunch of great classics and all that. Hollywood has lost its zaniness.
Well, I mean, Deadpool should be zany. That's the takeaway. When I read the comics, maybe I haven't read enough Deadpool, but he's not even that crass. He's bleeped out in the comic, and they can't show nudity. They're like PG-13 with R-rated violence.
I think in a movie, having your main character who actually gets bleeped would be funnier than the curse word, because it is something. It is something different that no one else does.
It's a fourth wall thing. Yeah, like he's only aware of it, so he like tries to get around it. But always, it'd be like a funny little gag in there,
No, I mean, I've said that before, and I just think Hollywood gets caught on the wrong things. I don't know why. It drives me insane.
Well, Hollywood, they chase the trend, basically.
Yeah.
When something gets started, they get stars in their eyes, and they start running forward.
They're like little puppy dogs.
And they run into a wall, and they fall down, and they get back up again, they climb over the wall, and they run through 5 miles of barbed wire, but...
Yeah, and it's just really disappointing, and I go through this every time they adapt something I like, because maybe I'm just impossible to please, but I don't feel like I am, because they don't even start at the right point. They don't have the right foundation to build the house on. Going back to my building analogy, it's wrong from the start.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
It's not going to get any better from there. It's just wrong.
It's wrong.
I'm angry. My man baby rage is coming out. We're going to complain on Twitter.
We're not a comedy podcast. We're an angry podcast.
Yeah. This is serious. This is Hellboy.
We rage. Con, it makes us rage.
Yeah.
It made me mad.
It made me mad. Do you have any articles, or...
I do have one, but I guess before I get into this, I feel like
a large sack of turds. We bleeped you for that.
I don't know if I even should have, but I don't know.
You can leave that in.
And it's kind of the same thing as they don't respect comics, but I don't. What is so bad about treating goofy or strange things with respect? Why? Because it has monsters in it and demons. We can't treat this with dignity and respect. Why does it have to be ironic and we're so above this and isn't it crazy how these monsters are killing people? Why can't the monsters have humanity? And there's too many people making these movies who they don't care about the source material. They clearly don't, and that's a problem plaguing Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay, but enough of my whinging. Let's get on to our article.
Oh my goodness, it's the whiner zone over here.
That's kind of the whole point of the podcast. Sometimes we focus more on the comics. Yeah. Sometimes we want to talk about movies. It's a perfect blend for us, whether it's entertaining for listeners.
I don't know. And I don't care. I just need a pedestal to complain on. And I have nothing else in my life but this.
I wonder if this is like the alternative reason that Billy made this podcast so he could rant to people.
It wasn't, but it has become that way because I'm getting more and more frustrated. I'm an angry man, baby. I need a place to throw my tantrum.
This provides a platform for it.
Yes. As meager and as unwatched as it is. It's
listening.
Good enough. Okay, so the article of the episode, The Bombing of Hellboy, How the Blockbuster Mentality Can Be Its Own Enemy. And basically they're wondering if just the fact that it is a reboot kind of hamstrung it.
That was the point I was making.
Yeah, and this kind of illustrates that more, gets deeper into it. Well, I'll start here down near the bottom. By rebooting itself, the series squandered its identity. Oh, and this is an article on Variety by Owen Gleiberman. Let me start over.
Oh, Owen Gleiberman, yeah.
You don't know who that is, shut up. By rebooting itself, the series squandered its identity. Fans were invested in Ron Perlman as Hellboy, and they were invested maybe more than ever in the lure of Guillermo del Toro's pop art vision. He is now, after all, an Oscar-winning filmmaker, and while I've never been all that much of a del Toro fan, I actually think there's more art in the Hell's-a-Poppin' creature feature flamboyance of the Hellboy films than there is in some of his more celebrated efforts. Which that part I don't know if I fully agree with, but I do like the Hellboy films a lot. The idea of changing horses when you've got a director like Guillermo del Toro in the saddle, as well as an actor like Ron Perlman, who has fused with the central character and made it his own, bespeaks a serious delusion about what the appeal of the Hellboy films is ever about. They were relatively modest box office performers, but that's because they had a cult audience. They weren't hooked up to Marvel or DC, they were standalone spectacles, and Hellboy, as a hero, is a standalone oddball. But now he's an oddball whose connection to the audience has been disrupted. Reboot culture, in this case, becomes a syndrome at once greedy and naive, a form of capitalist self-sabotage. The funny thing is, what the people behind the movie are thinking this weekend. How can the franchise be saved? What direction should we head in now? Do we go for another reboot?
Yeah, there was kind of more of a publication review on the Google site that said, this reboot is in need of a reboot. So it's kind of a weird syndrome. And kind of, because I feel like we're nearing it, that the Rando reviews were interesting because they do mention that, it's closer to the comics and all that, but from what it sounds like from your perspective, it's not closer to the comics.
Well, it's closer in the most basic way. We ripped the plot lines out and forgot everything else. The themes, the tones, the characters themselves, how they operate within the world. That's the thing about Hollywood. It seems like they can only scrape off, like with a cake. Hollywood can only scrape off the icing and throw it into their mix. They miss the rest of the cake,
Right.
If I could do a belabored analogy here. I'm full of analogies.
Yeah,
we love
he's
those.
also full of it.
I give a ton of stupid analogies on this show. That's great.
It's a stupid analogy show.
How about for a con, it causes you to make stupid analogies?
Well, that's every movie I rant about, to be
Just
fair.
messing around.
Yeah, I don't know, like, pro-con, it's both inspired by the comics and misses the point. And we already did Misunderstood Hellboy, but I feel like there is a pro in there where at least they wanted to draw from the source material.
Right. Inspired.
They had good intentions.
Yeah.
Inspired but loosely.
Inspired but not enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean my dynamic discussion this time was just going to be the Billy Pity Party show. So
Yeah.
There.
we can move on.
Let's go to Rando reviews. 'Cause
This is the part everyone looks forward to. They suffer through dynamic
Yeah, it's
discussions.
like,
like,
well-
when are they going to get the Rando review?
It's like your veggies before your dessert. Another analogy.
it's like
Goodness.
all right. So this time on Rando reviews, we have Lewis. He says, "Well, I just walked out of Hellboy. What can I say? I don't know. What can he say?
What can he
I hope he
write?
says something, because this is a review.
The hell part really describes the cinematic value. It's probably the worst special effects I've seen since Sharknado. Some could say watching it really was hell, but I guess you have to dig through dirt to see the gold. Little gold did I see. The only thing I laid eyes upon was an extremely disfigured, disabled-like human being. Actually, he wasn't very human, but nonetheless, his stroke-like features really ruined the performance."
Oh, talk about Hellboy.
Talk about
Hellboy. So, God, poor Hellboy had a stroke.
Oh no! God, that's why he was like that.
This guy has more analogies than you.
He said, and then he continued the second part. On the other hand, Hellboy is really more than just hell. Boy, that was interesting as H. Pardon the pun. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I can't describe how interesting a Scouser Minotaur is.
Scouser Minotaur.
Scouser.
Is that like
Scouser?
Is that like a Canadian Minotaur? Hey, I'm a Scouser, eh?
I have
A
no clue.
Scouser. I don't.
Come over here, you
He
Scouser.
misspelled something. I don't know.
You know, swoon and all that. But trust me, it's the best thing you've seen since the Ross Kemp Gangs of Liverpool. If you got any Scouser mates, then please watch this movie and repeat every phrase from the Scouser hog like it's your very own mate. This seems like...
Wait, is this like a football club?
Is this, is he from, like, England? And that's why we
Maybe.
have no clue what he's talking about? Like, I get that was a soccer game.
All I know
apparently.
about is a tea and bangers and mash in England.
I don't know, but he gives a 15 out of 10 for the boy factor, 1 out of 10 for the hell factor. I don't know what any of that means, really. I can't tell. He doesn't like Hellboy, but he gives it for the boy factor. He's more boy than hell.
He's more boy than hell now.
Twisted and cruel.
I don't know. I'm trying to parse that out metaphorically, what that means.
It's probably an English saying. Best not to think about it.
It's not. No, he's saying, like... it's
Basically, I think he's saying the hell part is Hellboy himself, but everything around Hellboy he likes, basically. The monsters and the other characters, or I guess the monsters, that's really all he brings up, and Scoozers, whatever those are.
What is that word?
Scoozers.
Is that like a term for someone?
Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah.
We're digging deep this time, audience.
We're digging into English phrases and terms.
Scoos is an accent and dialogue of English found primarily in the metropolitan country of Merseyside and closely associated with the city of Liverpool.
Oh,
So a Liverpool Minotaur?
So it's a Minotaur, like a person who's from that place that turns into a Minotaur, or is a Minotaur. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
a Minotaur with a
Scouser. He's a Scouser.
He's a metropolitan English accent. Whatever that is.
He's a Minotaur, but he lives in Liverpool. You know, he takes the daily commute. You know, down to the pub and all that, and he goes to the teller and all those British terms.
He throws his pints into the dustbin.
Dustbin, just bed.
Yeah, or the bin.
And he has biscuits with his tea, not cookies.
Yeah.
A picture of the Queen on the wall.
Yeah. I love this little, like, this mannered English sitcom starring a Minotaur we're coming up with. I can imagine, like, Faulty Towers or Father Ted.
It's a Scouser Minotaur.
It's probably like Scouser. We're probably mispronouncing it.
Well, I mean, we're ignorant Americans, so, what can we say?
Well, that's, like, highly, like, focused knowledge. That'd be like someone from America. I can't think of one. Like,
really, all our, like, stereotypes are pretty well known around
guess
the
that's
world,
true.
I feel.
Everyone knows about America, but no one knows about anyone else.
well, I can't think of any, but I feel like there's got to be some, like, really esoteric ones that people haven't heard of. But it's like that. It's like how an English person wouldn't know what to call certain people here. But
Yeah.
and I was thinking, what if we've misunderstood part of this film? Maybe this is not regular Hellboy. This is a story about a mentally disabled demon doing his best to fight other monsters.
I thought he had just had a stroke, and that's why he's kind of out of
Well,
it.
maybe like he had a stroke and now he's
That
kind of
caused
impaired.
disability.
Yeah.
Honestly, disabled hero.
Maybe that's
Very
why Hellboy
inclusive.
isn't Hellboy, because he's like screaming swears and all, because he has a stroke, he doesn't know what's
A
going
little bit
on.
of Tourette's, you know?
Yeah. He has Tourette's, he suffers a stroke.
Yeah. I mean, it would explain why he was screaming.
He has a greasy hair because he can't take care of himself really anymore.
It's really sad.
It's making so much
It is
sense.
sad, but it's inspiring. See, the story is inspiring
Very.
because he's overcoming his disabilities to kill blood queens and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's asking these important questions like, can a mentally challenged man become king of hell? And I think that's important in today's society. There's not enough like representation for disabled demons.
It's not a representation for red people, now if you think about it.
Yeah, completely red people.
Well, going on to our...
We are treading some thin ice here.
Yeah, we are, and that's okay. You know, the viewers are randos. They understand. You know.
Do they? I hope so.
I hope so. Next, we have Lana. I don't know where the critics get the whole "this movie is awful" thing.
I'll bury one of these.
Probably from where they didn't like it.
It's actually fun. I've read some critics say it doesn't have a story, but it does. It's a story about a demon who is insecure about his identity because he was raised by a human. The plot is easy. Evil witch wants to unleash a plague of death. Hellboy is not okay with that. They characters are cute. The acting is good. David Harbour does a great job. Yes, the graphics are dated, but the designs are pretty cool.
Dated
I can
already?
clearly see
Wait, the
animation.
graphics? Is this a video game?
The graphics.
Well, they are graphics.
The graphics.
Okay, well,
I
let's
can
not be
clearly
pedantic. They are graphics.
see the animation. Well, of course you can. It's all over the screen. But it's kind of a problem if the CGI or effects are a little already dated. Is that a artistic decision?
She doesn't mean that. She means that the effects aren't that great, and you can
Right.
tell that they look like animated, characters. They don't look.
Oh, I see. I
realistic.
can clearly see the animation,
Yeah,
so it doesn't look real.
Yeah, I mean, she put it in an odd way, but I know what she means. Yeah, I mean, the effects didn't bother me.
Not too bad.
But I haven't seen the movie, so in the trailer, the little snippets, it's hard to get a good gauge for it. But I wouldn't say they're awful.
Yeah.
It's just typical CGI in a movie.
They continue. People keep trying to compare it to Del Toro, but
the only one to
Marshall
compare it to.
has a complete different style than him. Del Toro is a romance, where Marshall's is an action horror. Point is, this movie is actually good. It's got problems, yes, but overall it's fun. I actually would love a sequel. Don't let a stuffy critic keep you from having a good time.
I think it's like everyone, not just the stuffy critics.
They've been on the run a little bit ever since Lucas and Wallace have been
Wallace and
active.
Lucas have got-
Yeah, they're really hunting down some critics. So they have to.
Lucas and Wallace.
They have to the reviewers or the critics. They have to go to internet cafes or Starbucks, and they have to wait for someone to walk away from the computer, and they dash up and they write their review real fast and they send it off.
Or they have
because they can't sit in front of a computer too long, otherwise Wallace and Lucas will get them.
they'll track them down.
Yeah.
So they have. I can't remember what they're called. Like when people
VPNs.
have phones that they just use once. And
Oh,
throw-
burners, yeah.
Yeah, they have burner laptops
Yeah.
and things like that, and they just trash them when they're done.
Some are writing them up on typewriters and then mailing them to
Somebody else,
Yeah.
proxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be a lot
Carrier
more careful.
pigeons.
Yeah, carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Well, see, I'm not for hunting critics, and I feel like it's anti-critic propaganda. Like what Lana, is that her name?
Well,
Mhm.
I'm for hunting critics if you have the proper seasons and license.
Okay, well, I mean, in a
It
perfect
could bring in
context,
some money to the local economy.
Yeah, I mean, I know that critics, they often they come into towns, they jump through windows, hurt themselves, hurt other people. So we do need to cull the critic population occasionally. But
There's rules and regulations that must be followed.
but this rampant anti-critic propaganda, it's dangerous for critics because then we'll start hunting them out of season.
And then we'll have any critics left.
It will be where they can't even get their chai latte safely anymore, and they'll die without those. It's sad to see, honestly.
So after that, we go into IMDb. I like these sometimes. We have Tome 45260. 10 out of 10, and that's their score. And then their review goes 10 out of 10. Great acting. Very great acting. So
That's it. Very great.
yes,
Well, you can't argue with that, I guess.
That's a pro. Great acting.
I like how they give the score 10 out of 10, and the title they give a 10 out of 10. Great acting. Very great acting. So pro, great acting.
Yeah,
What would it be? Because he said it twice, right?
Well, it's great acting. Very great acting.
Oh, so
He
is
changed
Four
that
times.
4 greats then?
I think it's 4 greats. Now, warning, he puts it under the spoiler, so I had to click on this. Great plot, better than Avengers, on par with Batman versus Superman, which is great. Very great.
I don't think this person is quietly is genuine here.
I think we will disregard this Tome's opinion here, because that's an interesting person.
It is a very interesting person, where they think Batman v Superman is one better than Avengers,
Yeah.
and that this movie is like Batman versus Superman.
And that's a selling point in their mind. I don't understand that person.
I don't either.
I wonder what it's like to be, like I've said this before. I wonder about these people, specifically that person. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every Marvel movie is amazing and stuff like that. You know, I do not worship at the feet of the Mickey God.
But it is better than DC.
Yeah, it's not even close. You know, they're not even playing in the same universe.
Yeah.
No, they are. They got the DC and the Marvel universe.
But literally, hey, I didn't mean to do that. But just to think, you would really have to value like darkness and grittiness
And incoherent plot.
Or
and,
lighting.
Yeah,
and terrible characters.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, like, I hate to get derailed here, but man, that is just that is chilling.
Yeah,
to think these people are out in society.
I never
And
seen
I'm not
Billy
saying you
so
can't
shocked.
like Batman v Superman, but to be unable to make that distinction in quality is what terrifies me.
Yeah.
You must be so enamored by the darkness and the grit of those movies, because that's literally the only defining feature they have.
Well, Billy, they were born with that. You only adopted it.
They were born in the Zack Snyder. You merely adopted the Snyder. I was born in it. I'm sorry to. I mean, and if you feel that way, I'm sorry for being mean, but I just.
And we hate you. No,
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. You're terrible.
But going on, we have BD Wood 98038. A lot of people with number something. I don't know if that's IMDb does that or they do that themselves. I always wonder what those string of numbers mean.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Lots of fun. Harbor killed it. Loved it. Super fun movie that stays mostly true to the beloved source. A lot of fake reviews and self-important critics bashing
See?
because that's what bullies do, Billy. You're a self-important critic.
Yeah, look at you. They got you dead to rights.
I admit it. I'm a bully.
But you're bullying the pulpit right now.
But you're not going to listen to them, are you? You can think for yourself, right? Was Del Toro / Perlman's Hellboy better? Maybe. Is this better than the rest of cookie cutter snoozes out there? Most assuredly. 10 out of 10 to compensate for the Stormtroopers.
I love this idea that critics are bullies.
Yeah.
And fake reviews. I like how nobody can have any other opinion. It's great.
I love that. Are you sure? You know, it's like...
I've never had a review
You're not
speak
gonna
to me like
listen
that.
to them. Come on.
Come on, man. You're not going to listen to all those sheeple out there, are you?
Think for yourself.
Yeah, just think like me. I love that. You can think for yourself, which is co-word me. You need to think more like me.
But that's a weird
You're a big boy.
mentality we have towards critics, where if they don't like a movie we like, we assume that like they're trying to be mean.
Yeah.
When all critics do is give their opinion.
I just assume they're all bought by Disney.
Yeah,
Which
well, I mean, they're probably
all
not.
these people do is give their opinion. They're really in the same boat. The problem is they absolutely hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, one gets paid and the other doesn't.
Well, it's just the idea that the critics are malicious.
yeah.
And maybe sometimes they are, but it's just their opinion of art.
I love that the critics are stormtroopers.
Yeah, because most critics, I would imagine, go into movies wanting to enjoy them. Obviously, they wouldn't have picked the job if that was the case.
Okay. Now brace yourself. This is my magnum opus. I think this is one of the greatest reviews ever. This is from the Google site. It's by John, Jon. Burn it into your minds. All right. Here's John's review, and he gave it a negative downvote. All right. Why are these people allowed, as in the volume, the script To make the movie, they bleeding ruined the movie. The movie set seems like a backstage Corey episode, a bleeding waste on going the pictures to see this big load of Johnny English. The next Spider-Man, get a grip on life. Where do I get a refund? Watching paint dry has more action. In the tub, at least Ronzil does exactly what it says on the tin. Shoot the writer. This is a movie. I won't be taking the kids to see. The only good part in the movie was Hellboy's costume. Other than that, I'd put this movie through the shredder, never to be the letter, just the letter B, seen again. Why don't you put the money to some use and make a proper movie? Hellboy meets Terminator, Moe, whatever you do, don't...
Moe, like for the Three Stooges?
Yes, he spelled it that way. Whatever you do, don't blank up bad. Boys 3, all I need is another movie cancellation ruined. Please don't tell me Billy Elliot is the next Iron Man. Such a flop. Did I say thanks for ruining the movie? Netflix new big screener for 2020. Fantastic Four movie. Simon Cowell's head roll. Since he has parts plastic in his body, he'd be the perfect fit as Mr. Plastic. As the voters don't see who's winning in the votes these days, I'm sure Mr. Walsh is lined up for the new RoboCop. I wonder who's the new Bond, Sir Harry Potter.
Sir Harry Potter who was knighted?
Complete waste of watching a movie.
What?
He reviewed like 20 movies at once.
I want to see.
Not even reviewed it. He just gave his opinion on.
I want to see.
Goodness.
I want to see Hellboy versus Terminator versus the Three Stooges.
Do you see why I said this was was the magnum opus?
My brain was melting.
There's one period in the entire thing. There's no other. And guess what? It's Netflix new big screener for 2020. Space. Period, and then Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic is shoved up next to the period. That is the only punctuation.
Was that written by a bot? That feels like a bot review, because it's just like keywords and stuff plucked from randomly.
I don't know.
The thing is that there's just people out there who are nuts enough for them to actually do that.
His name is John Smith. He's the most ordinary man
That's the
ever.
thing, that seems bottish.
Yeah.
I feel like a robot wrote that review.
Well, we did talk about robots taking the jobs.
Yeah, they are. They're starting with just your average Joe, then they'll be like big name critics eventually.
It goes all over the place.
It's like some kind of Cthulhu language that's left my brain. Like, I can only remember bits and pieces.
I don't even know if the audience will be able to understand what I was saying.
I couldn't.
It's garbity goop.
Gobbledygook.
Yeah.
You can't even say that
Okay,
right.
Exactly.
So, like, it seems like first he starts by reviewing like advertise or movie commercials. He starts his Hellboy review off with like Johnny English and Spider-Man.
Yeah, a backstage Corey episode of Bleeding Waste on him going the pictures to see this big load of Johnny English.
Like Corey in the house?
Corey episode. And then
A Corey episode.
Corrie.
What?
No, that's not right.
The big load of Johnny English.
Big load of Johnny English.
Johnny English. I like Johnny English.
This big load. I like how that's an insult.
Yeah,
this big load of Johnny
It's
English.
a big load of Johnny English, I
Then
tell
he
you.
says the next Spider-Man. He says, get a grip on life.
I love that idea for a movie title. Spider-Man, get a grip on life.
Well, he does clean the thing.
Yeah, so it would actually kind of work.
Where do I get a refund watching paint dry?
But did he actually see paint dry?
Because there's no punctuation, you can just do whatever you want. Where do I get a refund watching paint dry has more action in the tub?
In the tub of paint. That wouldn't make any sense with punctuation. He's mad that he got ripped off watching paint dry. You can do that for free. You don't have to pay to see that.
So, do you think this was...
I'm trying to find pros and cons here. What were we going to say?
There's none. Stop looking.
Do you think he was scammed then? He's like, come watch paint dry. It's like, oh, I'll do that. Oh, it's just watching paint dry. What the crap? Why can't I get my money back?
Yeah, he wanted to watch paint dry.
But it seems like he wanted to watch paint dry, but he was upset by the outcome. So I don't know what he was expecting from paint drying. I don't even know if he saw Hellboy. I think he saw snippets of a dozen different movies. What if there's like this weird marketing thing.
Oh my goodness. Make a proper movie, Hellboy meets Terminator Moe. Moe's a Terminator!
Okay, so is that a con?
I gotta terminate you, chatterhead. He throws an exploding pie at them or something.
I don't know. I think that's a pro.
Well, that is a pro itself, but I think it's a con that this movie was not Hellboy versus Terminator Moe.
Yeah, that is a con.
He takes it, he does the finger poke in the eye, but he shoves it all the way past you.
And like his hand is like scissor blades that he shoves through your head.
Oh my goodness, I love that mental image.
Who's Billy Elliot?
I've heard that name, but I don't know.
Is he the next Iron Man?
I don't know.
Please don't tell me Billy Elliot is the next Iron Man. I like how he doesn't capitalize Billy, but he capitalizes Elliot.
I was trying to wonder if this...
Also, why Simon Cowell?
He really hates Simon Cowell.
He's apparently thinks he's like a plastic man or something.
Because he had a lot of work done? I don't know.
Is he like a plastic?
This review, it broke new ground. This is a review of several movies, and it's also like his casting choices and his opinion on certain people. He's transcended normal reviewing.
I think so. We put him in the MVP, I think.
John Smith.
I wonder what his current AI patch is.
He doesn't have an H.
Oh, he doesn't? Oh.
No, he has no H.
John Smith?
No. In John.
Oh, John Smith.
It's
Okay.
spelled
So
like
it's a
that.
slightly different...
Yeah, slightly different than John Smith. A very generic
Yeah.
name. This is, unique.
Yeah, he's done away with like the need for context and syntax. This is a new way
punctuation
of writing.
And he also talks about Netflix, really,
Mm-hmm.
in Fantastic Four. Oh, that's what the thing is. He's saying that Simon Cowell...
Yeah, he's saying Simon Cowell should play Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
Which he called Mr. Plastic, which is a different... Plastic Man is a different hero, but...
Wait, is Netflix doing Fantastic Four now?
I don't... This guy's either a robot or an insane person. I have no clue.
Also...
Whoa, hang on a second. Billy Elliot is a 2000 British dance drama film about a boy becoming a professional ballet dancer.
So is there no actor?
Well, so
No.
who's playing Billy Elliot? Maybe that's what he means by that. Maybe the actor playing Billy Elliot is going to play Iron Man.
Or maybe they took the character Billy
Or-
Elliot and they're gonna make him the new Iron Man from his dancing in North England.
Or is Iron Man the new Billy Elliot?
No, I think...
Billy Elliot is the next Iron Man. So the character Billy Elliot...
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So Jamie Bell.
All right.
So for some reason he's afraid Jamie Bell is going to play
Iron Man.
Which is weird. It goes back to the Fantastic Four thing. Jamie Bell played the Thing in the reboot, Fan Four Stick. So is that tie-in? This has become the John Smith show all of a sudden, but this is a fascinating
He's dropped
review.
so much information on us that is pure data, basically. It's not information yet. It
No.
has not been...
Like edited or like altered, or it's a pure stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
This guy is like the next Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway was real big in the stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
One idea flowing into the next. He's gone to the next level. This
Yeah.
is more like how the brain works, where it's just random thoughts. There's no like artistry to it. It is the randomness and the inanity of the mental thought process purely displayed in text.
So what you're saying is that this is the purest reviewer of our generation, of our lifetime, even.
Yes, or like at least the most realistic interpretation of the stream of consciousness style of writing. So he's breaking ground here on several fronts. He's clearly a new literary master, and he's also found a way to write reviews in a fresh and bold way.
Yeah, because when he gets off into
I
Simon
don't even know how to
Cowell
describe
as
it.
in the head of a role, he immediately goes on to like voters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it seems like he was thinking about,
The next presidential election.
or America's Got Talents, basically, or something like that. And he just kept thinking about it. He's still writing, but he hasn't realized, or maybe he has realized.
Yeah, that's why it's fascinating.
Also, who's Mr. Walsh?
I have no idea.
They're lined up for the new RoboCop.
That's the thing. There's so many little
Okay,
nuances here.
who's the new Bond Sir Harry Potter?
Bond to
So-
Harry Potter.
So does that mean James Bond and Harry Potter are fusing into one role to become Bond Sir Harry Potter?
The name is Sir.
That
Bond Sir Harry Potter.
Or it goes back to the Jamie Bell thing where he thinks that Daniel Radcliffe is going to get cast as James Bond.
I can see that. Not really, but
no.
Maybe if he's older, I feel like he's still a little too young or too youngish looking. Yeah, I don't know. I can't put into words. I haven't done a good job describing my feelings about this, but I feel like it's this cutting edge like writing here.
Yeah.
As a writer myself, it's frightening, but it's also inspirational. Mostly frightening. Also, don't think a human was responsible for this because it's very bodish sounding. And I don't know, is there any more pros and cons in there? It's not Hellboy versus Terminator Moe, which is sad.
Very sad. I think that's the biggest
well,
one.
And going back to a point I was going to make, I'm worried that maybe he's been subjected, like MK Ultra style, to a new way of presenting film where it's snippets of film all just combined together. You watch like 20 different films all at once, kind of like...
So ideas are just bombarded at his head.
Yeah.
He's returned to his cubicle where he has to write something up.
Yeah. And I'm not saying even like one little clip after another. Like it's a fragmentation where you're seeing a bunch of movies all at once and your brain is somehow trying to parse out. And it seems like not just movies, but like TV shows like Britain's Got Talent and Netflix news and actor casting.
Backstage
casting
Corey
news.
episode, whatever that is.
Weirdly spelled Corey.
So I think it is a con if Hellboy is...
Do you think this is part of government mind control? Where they're trying to learn more about the human psyche, and so they essentially bombard somebody with a ton of information to see what comes out, basically. And then they post it on a review site so 4 people could find it helpful.
Who are these 4 people?
I did not know about that. I did not realize that this was helpful to someone. I'm sorry.
4 people, in fact.
So I guess Hellboy may be a part of some horrible government experiment.
Also, I do have to point out, he does have a comma, excuse me.
Oh.
He has 1 comma. He sometimes remembers that, one time he remembered a comma existed, and the other time he remembered a period.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know if you have any more, but I feel like we got to go on a high note here with Rando reviews.
No, I put him last for that reason.
We could talk about this forever. We could fall into a wormhole. This seems to me like there's stories about books and puzzles and things that drive people mad. Yeah. I feel like this is one of those. Yeah, we found it in the wild.
We've entered it. I'm debating whether to put John Smith, whether he's a robot or not, on the Hall of Fame just for the beauty of that review, because that was something else.
Yeah, it's given us a lot to think about. Okay, well, let's. I know that review is going to haunt us in our nightmares until we're driven mad and.
What's a plastic Simon Cowell? Who's Sue Harry James Potter?
We hit John Smith with a ship and it did nothing.
A ship?
It was a Cthulhu reference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
I forgot about that.
We rammed him.
But let's try to move on and get into facts and follies. And I have a ton because there was a lot. So I'll start reading through, and if I see something interesting, I'll pull it out here. Mike Mignola takes a more direct involvement in the production of this film than he did on the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy films. According to him, the idea was to downplay the superhero elements in the film and stay closer to the darker tone of the graphic novels, making a much more horror-oriented entry into the franchise. See, and
they went more hyper-violence. How does that help?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm wondering if they started with good intentions and it just got warped. Because making movies is kind of like a game of telephone, where everyone, as it goes down the line, your vision just gets more and more distorted from where it started off, I think. And that goes into my argument about how the production studio or the studio interfered. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the trivia or the facts this time around was it's mainly just news about Hellboy 3, the Del Toro, and how it's going to get started. No, it's not. They said it would. They said it won't. It's just I can skip over those, but there was a lot of that, which I'm like that really has nothing to do with this movie. But thank you anyways. And David Harbour described his portrayal of Hellboy as a teenage version of Ron Perlman's Hellboy. He's younger and tougher and really struggling with the idea of whether or not he's a good person, which I don't need teen Hellboy.
Teen Hellboy.
Yeah, teen Hellboy.
Hell teen?
Next is going to be Hellboy Babies.
I mean, that's most teenagers.
Will make your nightmares come true.
That's most teenagers, I would say. Hell teen?
Yeah. But he doesn't look like a teenager. He just looks like Hellboy has got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Like Hellboy had a stroke. I don't know. I just feel like that's a way to cover up why he's different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it says Joel Harlow added scars to Hellboy's horns, feeling they made Hellboy feel gritty and appropriate for an R-rated portrayal. See, it's just...
That's what I was talking
Yeah.
about. That it has to be R-rated. It must be R-rated, or else how will people take us seriously
Yeah.
at all if it's not R-rated?
Yeah.
It's
And
like-
that's the weird thing about these facts and the facts, I guess. I haven't got to the follies. Is that there's all this contradiction. Just how back and forth is like, well, we want to be true to the comics, but also we're like, there's this other fact here. Harbour confirmed that their version of Bruttenholm, that's Hellboy's foster dad, is a much harder character who doesn't sympathize with Hellboy questioning his place in the world. I mean, Dr. Broom, that's his nickname, Bruttenholm's nickname. He's very sympathetic. He was a good father figure. I mean, why change that? It's little things like that. This
Makes it
drive me
more
up a
R,
wall.
Billy.
Yeah, more gritty and grimdark. Urgh.
But not really, because we didn't get the tone right. So how
Yeah,
can it be
so
those things?
we don't know what to do.
And this one was funny. A prolonged dispute over a surreal tree that figures prominently in the film. Marshall wanted a realistic-looking, asymmetrical tree, but the insider said Levin overruled him. I'm not sure. I guess that's like the producer and Marshall's the director, insisting on a symmetrical tree. Then, in post-production, the tree became asymmetrical again. Singer disputed any suggestion that Levin somehow mucked it up in a back-and-forth tug-of-war over symmetry versus asymmetry, adding, the design of the tree, like hundreds of other design elements in the movie, went through an exhaustive design and evolution process.
So,
And there's little things
is there
like
a
this.
pro or a con in that? That the tree just kept changing? Or
Yeah, I don't know if there's a pro or a con.
pro con the tree.
Pro con the tree. How is it a pro or a con? What's our mentality here?
Well, our mentality is that it's just really funny, but it's also kind of a con that you can't, like, it's such a basic thing,
Yeah.
whether the tree is going to be asymmetrical or symmetrical,
So
and you just fighting over such an inconsequential thing, like,
Yeah.
does it even matter?
I guess the pro here is they cared enough about the tree,
Yeah.
which is good, but also
The
it
con
was
is
really
that-
dumb they cared about this tree so much. Just aside. That's another thing I've been noticing here is like this, some people are saying like, oh yeah, we got along. It was no big deal. And then there's like these stories of these heated kind of arguments on the set. I'll get to another one.
Well, of course, for, like, the outside viewers who are looking at it, everybody's a friend, you know,
Yeah.
it's all a good time that we had making this movie.
Yeah.
There's no fights at all. But, you know, obviously, it's like any corporate job where we're all friends, but, you know, some people do really hate each other.
Yeah.
It's just, they,
Yeah.
you know.
And they always want to put that like good face on it. at the
Yeah,
end of
it's
the day.
like,
Yeah.
oh, we're all friends here, and you know, two people are stabbing each other. Well, you know, they're holding
In the
hands
back, yeah.
and they're stabbing each other. You know, so
Yeah. So here's what I was talking about, like there being trouble in paradise and everyone denying it. Levin interrupted Marshall frequently in front of the crew as Marshall tried to rehearse actors, sometimes giving them different directions than the director. Singer's attorney disputed that. In fact, Mr. Levin would speak to Neil Marshall after rehearsals and discuss issues with him at that time. So there's this constant back and forth. Like, I guess Levin, the producer, I don't know who Levin is like constantly, Levin and Marshall were fighting in the background. It's like mom and dad were fighting, and I wonder if that affected the movie.
it could have been. I mean, why doesn't Levin direct his own movie at this point? If he's got the money, why is he getting somebody else who then he has to fight for creative control over? It doesn't make any sense.
It's the producer thing. Oh yeah, and then here, Harbour, who plays Hellboy, repeatedly walked off set, refusing Marshall's request for more takes. Singer responded for Levin, my client has no recollection of that ever happening. To the contrary, David Harbour gave everything he was asked of and more during filming. So I was like, I could not follow this thread. It's this, something happened. Just because all that came out, just because they're saying that, clearly something happened.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's like
it's-
damage control.
Yeah, it was probably a troubled
Production.
filmmaking, production.
Yeah.
But they can't say that, especially not legally.
Yeah.
And so they just say, "Oh, you know, don't worry
Yeah,
about it. We
little
were all
disagreements,
friends. We're all
yeah.
friends. Don't worry about it."
So I guess con is like troubled production.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was very like fighting over the design of a
But
tree.
nothing was really wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So troubled production, but no big deal.
Yeah.
It happens.
No big deal.
No, nothing to see here.
Well, the lawyer said it didn't happen, so
Yeah.
it didn't
So
happen.
it didn't happen. It's one of those deals where it feels like the drama behind the movie is actually more interesting than the movie itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of untold stories that we will never get told. But I'm guessing from a lot of movie productions.
Yeah.
You know, just...
It was all good, nothing happened.
Maybe the real hell was all the arguments we had along the way.
I mean, this movie seems to bring hell to everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Production was
it's very
hell.
accurate.
But Jake, isn't that what the stormtroopers are saying? You should really think for yourself.
So, everyone was in hell.
Everyone's Jesus in purgatory.
Okay.
And I think on that bombshell...
Yeah, we really need to wrap this up because we were running super long.
Yes.
That's probably my fault.
It's okay.
We have an hour of Billy ranting and an hour of facts and
Yeah.
follies.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first? Or actually,
Well, I
pros,
can do the
cons.
pros
Yeah, we
and
gotta
cons.
read
Yeah,
them
pro
off
cons.
now.
Okay. Cons. They misunderstood Hellboy. There's no respect for the comic, clearly. It made me mad.
Yes, very important. Angry.
Hellboy had a stroke, which I guess is kind of a pro-con, depending
Very
on how
sad.
they approached it, but it's sad to see a hero fall like that.
Inspirational though, because he picks himself back up
Yeah,
again. So
potentially.
we like the whole disabled angle. So.
Yeah.
Everyone roots for an underdog.
Mm-hmm. It's not Hellboy versus Terminator Moe, which is a huge missed opportunity. I wish we'd have got the other Terminator stooges in there.
Yeah. Well, like they arrive later, like in
Yeah.
the sequels. You
Yeah.
have Terminator Larry and Terminator Curly.
Like Curly runs on the floor.
Whoa! He just runs like fast. He like smears you on the sidewalk and he runs over you.
Or he's got like blade legs and he chops you in half.
And then Larry just plays the violin at sonic levels and explodes your head.
And this movie may be a part of a horrible government experiment to show you a bunch of different movies at once. And we saw when it did the John Smith.
Yeah.
If he's not a robot. And I was going to say another con, robots hate it. Potentially,
Well,
if John Smith
he's
is a
either
robot.
a person who's been horribly mistreated,
Yeah.
a robot, or he's a Cthulhu-esque monster
Yeah.
who got a hold of the review system
Yeah.
and really just wanted to spread some madness.
So, either way, monsters, robots, non-humans, and mentally discombobulated humans do not care for this film.
Exactly.
And the film clearly, maybe, I mean, not according to our lawyers, had a troubled production.
Right, and not according to their lawyers or any lawyers at
Yes.
all.
We're not saying it did, but, you know, we're also saying it did.
The writing's on the wall. You can't
Yeah.
ignore it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's too many different, stories. And then pros, Machinegun Granny, which we didn't really talk much about her, but
She was there.
we don't know the context, just that this kind
There's a picture of her. That's all we have.
This old Asian woman is firing a machine gun. Not sure at who. Not sure why. Don't even know her name. But she's intrigued. She's mysterious.
She needs her own movie.
Yeah.
Maybe she can fight the Terminator Stooges.
She can help Hellboy. And then we have a Minotaur with a Scouser or Scouser accent, which is interesting. We learned something
Liverpool.
today. Yeah, it's a Minotaur from Liverpool. A Libertar. I don't know.
Libertar.
Yeah, potentially, depending on how the story plays out, this is a story about a disabled demon hero who overcomes his disability to become king of hell and defeat the monsters. So,
Exactly.
yeah. The acting was very great. So high marks on the acting from that one guy. I forget his name, and apparently everyone was in hell. So was that supposed to be a con? I don't know. We'll call it a pro.
No, I call it a pro because it's Hellboy.
Yeah. So the production was in hell. The actors were in hell.
We're in hell.
We're in hell because this episode's going on forever.
The audience is going to be in hell when they listen to it. It's beautiful. You know?
It's perfect. And then pro cons. Inspired by comic, but not enough. As we said, they misunderstood Hellboy. The tree.
Which is really kind of goes back to the whole trouble production.
Yeah.
But
But again, trouble production, no big deal.
No big deal.
Everyone was actually
No
friends, even though they argued constantly, and the
Undermined
primary
each
actor
other.
almost left. Which you need those to film movies. Okay, with all that in mind, we have to review this movie.
I'm gonna give it probably in the low 20s, like a 26. At the end of the day, I did not like the fact that they did not follow the source material properly.
Yeah.
I did not like the lies of the trouble production. We all know it was, but no matter what their lawyers say, it
well,
was
legally
horrible.
they can't. They
Yeah.
couldn't, you know, it's just.
The tone's all wrong and all that. It just seems like a big mess to me.
Yeah.
And I think maybe John Smith was trying to tell us, but he was trying to convey the mess that Hellboy is by writing out another mess.
Yeah. It's all allegorical.
Yes.
That's another interpretation.
I would like to see Hellboy versus the Terminator Stooges more than I want to see this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we kind of know my opinion.
Yeah, Billy hates it.
And I'm less upset about the movie now than what it's done to me in this podcast episode, and how it's caused me to go on forever and drag the episode out probably far longer than it needs to. So I'm giving it a 5%.
Wow.
That still doesn't beat the lowest I've given a movie, which is 1 for the Robin Hood one.
And that's only for Machinegun Granny.
Yes, 5% for Machinegun Granny.
Well, all the pros, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's okay. It did bring everybody into hell, which I'm not very happy about, you know.
But it's good because it's true to the.
It's true to the thing, but I don't want to be in hell. I mean, who wants to be in hell? But I like some of the elements. I was thinking a 33%, but I'm going to bring in just a solid 30%. There's some great stuff in there, like Terminator Moe, the Granny, the inspiring story of Hellboy.
Oh, that's true.
Himself.
I'm probably being a little too harsh, but
And that's fair enough. Like, to be a little harsh is okay.
I'm more if the source material wasn't so badly handled, I probably would have been kinder to this.
So we gave it a 20.3 Repeaty. We got Repeaty back. Hey, Repeaty.
It's Repeaty the Decimal.
He's back.
I'm back.
He went on vacation a little bit, you know, hanging out.
Is that what we call sitting in a bag and throwing him into the river of vacation?
Well, I mean, yes, we tried several things. You know, you put him in a car, you drive down the road, and you let him out, and you drive away. But he's, for some reason, always finds his way back somehow.
I know you actually love me. It was all a test to see if I can make it back.
Exactly, Repeaty. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's you keep believing that, Repeaty. I will. I'm delusional and on lots of drugs.
Okay.
Okay. It got too real. So what was our score?
20.3 repeating percent.
Okay, so the critics won with 15%. So the
Okay.
critics did not care for this, and I think I got closest to them potentially.
What did
I was,
the critics give?
Although,
Yeah, you were.
okay,
What did the critics give?
15%.
Oh, wow.
They hated
Because
this.
Luke was 11 away,
Okay,
and then I was 15%
Yeah.
away.
just barely. But the audiences liked it a little more,
They always
59%. So the critics are,
Stormtroopers.
and take that, anti-critic propaganda and critic haters. They're in our MVP this time.
Yeah, they usually are.
Yeah.
I mean, we're usually close to the critics. What does that say about us? You know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But also, I have to point out the audience. They just didn't do it. They're not 69%. That's really a shame. Obvious joke is obvious joke. All right.
Let's get out of here. Let's get to leave this stupid podcast.
Please.
That's way too long.
Trapped in hell.
Luke's standing up.
Yes.
Luke's done. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Much Review About Nothing. You can get in contact with us at muchreviewan@gmail.com and on Twitter at muchreviewan. And I'm on Twitter at BD_gruesome. You can come there to hear me complain about more movies.
And if you want to, it's all up to you. You can support us on Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon,
Maybe we
Much
could
Review
just-
About Nothing, or MRAN as the HMTL. I think.
HTML.
Yeah.
Anyways, and also we want to give one final thank you to, was it a podcast about something? Kind of our clone from an alternate dimension.
Yeah, a podcast
Yeah.
about something. So.
Yeah, so Jake's been listening to them. He's enjoyed them. They seem like great guys because they like us, so
Yes.
therefore they're automatically great.
Exactly.
They think like us,
yeah,
so
yeah.
therefore they are good.
Yes, we learned. So yeah, thanks to them, and let's wrap this baby
is it?
up and go home.
A person,
Although we are home.
An agreeable person is someone who agrees with me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been your host.
Billy Greer. You don't normally do this.
No, I don't. I just decided to do it because I've been Hell Jake, and that's been
I've
Luke.
been Boy Luke.
And I've been
Boy Luke.
Abe Bill Sapien. Bye.
Bye.